whole point of automation was to take away the jobs we didn't want to
Mm.
do so that we'd have time to do the creative stuff. And it seems to be going in the other direction. They're taking
Yeah.
away all the fun stuff, and we're still stuck doing the menial jobs. If that, because I'm sure they'll find a way to take that away too. So it's just an interesting world that we're in. I do feel like it's a lot of hype. Like it does a lot of good stuff. It does a lot of not good stuff, but like it
It
does
does a lot
a
of stuff.
it does a lot of stuff right now. Like very little, but in terms of uh like go through this spreadsheet and tell me how many like whatevers are in it. But it's like okay, so you saved me 10 seconds. Is that worth you destroying art? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's just not like the benefits we're getting from it in real world applications does not seem to be worth everything we're losing, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's bad actors that are causing it, right? It's people who are like, I'm not here because I enjoy the act of writing. I just want to get paid. So I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna generate a bunch of stuff and throw it on Amazon so you can give me money. And then I'm gonna run, right? We're trying to make a craft of it for a reason and
Yeah.
hopefully sustain ourselves doing so. And we're being punished for it, right?
Hmm. Yeah. And like, yeah, like you said, like there are like applications for it. Um, but that's not where, I mean, that's not where the money is. So that's not where any of
Yes.
the attention is, right? But like, like I used to work in digital accessibility. So like there's applications for like people with impediments to their language processing, for example, like after a brain injury or maybe
Hmm.
just some condition that they're born with. This could be really useful for them, right? We live in a society where it's very difficult for people with impairments specifically to language or verbal processing, even if like the rest of their intelligence is like, first of all, intelligence doesn't correlate to your worth as a human being. But even if your like intelligence is otherwise average and your but your ability to express yourself is limited, people tend to not take you as seriously.
Yeah. So I can see that. Like that's a good
Yeah.
application for it, right?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
right? It's doing something that wouldn't have been entirely possible before, and like making it a lot easier to for people who yeah like again there's a net benefit. Like nobody is
Yeah.
suffering because of this tool in that way. Like you're not
Yeah.
taking away from somebody by giving someone like a method of speech or whatever that they didn't
Mhm.
have before, right? Like a way to communicate that was missing. That's not reductive in the sense that like I took all these works that we plagiarized from right from the internet, and
Yeah.
now I can write the same story in 5 minutes that would take
Yeah.
you 6 months. It's like okay, but
Yeah.
like why? Right? Like who
Yeah.
is that helping?
Yeah.
Right? So
It
there's
also
definitely
feels like a
mm,
fundamental misunderstanding of art.
yes.
Um, it's it like art isn't just about entertainment. Like it certainly can be entertaining, and a lot often it comes from a place of entertainment. But art is also a form of communication
Hmm.
between people. It's usually one directional. There's exceptions, but usually it's the person who created the piece is communicating something to the people who are digesting the piece. But if the creator isn't a person, if it's essentially a machine pretending to be a person, um, who are you communicating with? Right?
Yeah.
Like, if that's what you're ingesting, then like you haven't actually experienced a communication with a person. And so in that way, it's almost like a parasocial relationship, which is like another problem that we're having right now is all of these like AI girlfriend boyfriend apps that people are getting addicted to.
Hmm.
And it's because humans are wired to try to establish a connection with others, right? So if you have a machine that's good enough at simulating people that it kind of triggers that part of your brain, that can potentially be very dangerous.
Yeah, and it's a retreat to some kind of safety too, because if you're speaking to a machine that you have a level of control over, this machine will never hurt you or upset you. So why would
Yeah.
I go talk to someone who can upset me eventually, right? Or let
Yeah.
me down or whatever. But that's that's life for good and bad, right? Like it's
Yeah.
those experiences that make you who you are. But if you're avoiding all those experiences, you know, who do you become at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's scary. I feel like it's still, the news does take the handful of examples and really blows them out. Like, so I
Yeah.
hope it's not as prevalent as it sounds. But the fact that there's even a handful, it's like, cool. It's another problem we didn't need,
Yeah. And like
right?
the current trend is that it's going to get worse, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the only thing I'm hoping is, so I work in IT as my like day job. And if we were talking 4 or 5 years ago, let's say, this conversation would just be about blockchain and how
Yeah.
blockchain is going to change everything and how it's going to, because it has predictive models and we're going to have the cure to everything. And then it just like kind of came and went, right?
Yeah. I mean, so my thing is, so because my background is I did cognitive science in undergrad, and then I did human computer interaction for my master's. So I kind of think about this a lot. Um, is that like blockchain didn't mess with people's heads the way this
Yes.
stuff. Yeah, this like even if you know that it's just a machine that's generating all of this text, it kind of like latches onto a part of your lizard brain, like the emotional center of your brain, and like does things with it. Um, which you can cognitive be like, I know this is an unfeeling machine that's just using predictive text algorithms to figure out what I want to hear. Uh, that doesn't really change how it gets into your head, unfortunately. So that's sort of like how it's different from blockchain. And then the other thing is also like I feel like um people who don't know as much about computers with blockchain, they were just like, yep, that sure is a word. Um,
Yeah.
whereas with large language models, they're more likely to be like, oh, it's like an actual person. Let me have a conversation with them now, right? So there's sort of like that difference as well.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I hope that it just comes and goes without anything bad happening. But there are enough differences between the two that I'm not counting on it.
No, I think you're right. I think I'm diminishing it a bit much. It's, if anything, it's closer to like the introduction of the smartphone in the sense of like it's here and there's the day before and the day after, right? Like
Yeah,
in both in the sense of like you said, like it's people like building these relationships that are completely fabricated on one end, right? But it's still giving them the not the value, but the like the feeling of the substance of a real relationship, which is dangerous. But also in terms of like all of the systems that we now have to change to work around the fact that AI exists. I think like for education in particular, right? Like there's a big problem now where like kids aren't, one, they aren't reading. That was always a problem. We always had Coles
yeah,
notes and stuff. Like let's
yeah,
let's be serious. Not everybody was reading every book, right? Like there was ways to get around it, but now it's at everyone's fingertips, right? Where
yeah,
it was still an effort that you had to put in to even read the Coles notes. So you were cheating and whatever, but you were still you were cheating yourself, but you were still learning something by at least
yeah,
having to do that much. Where now it's like, hey chat GPT, tell me the main 5 points of the story and how it applies to X. And then they get that and they just regurgitate it and nothing has sunk in because they did zero critical thinking of their own, right?
yeah.
Where even if you did a Cole's Notes read, you'd have to do some critical thinking to try to fill in the gaps that were definitely left for you because you didn't read the proper book, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Where
and also it was generated by a human, at least,
yes, yeah. So there was
who did read the
context to it.
book. Yeah,
Exactly.
whereas ChatGPT is capable of fully hallucinating, and a lot of people will just they won't do their own like verification of
Hmm.
what they read. They'll just believe it, even if it's false, especially because it's based on your prompt. So if you inadvertently give it a leading prompt, it's going to try to it's going to try to make you happy, right? So if you give it a leading prompt, it's possible for it to just fully go along with your misconception and then reinforce that misconception.
Yep. Yeah. Well, speaking of social media, if I don't, did you say you're on Blue Sky? You're not still on
I'm on Blue
X?
Sky mostly. I I mean, I didn't delete my account or anything, but I
Sure.
don't really like go on it much anymore.
That's fair. I'm still on it, unfortunately, only because I'm a sports fan and all of the sports news remained on Twitter for whatever reason. So I'm still there. So I still see the nonsense. And the trend now is anytime anyone says anything, they're fact checked, and I'm doing the bunny ears for people not watching. They're fact checked by Grok, which is their
Yeah.
AI model, which again will tell you what you want to hear, right? So it's like, hey, Grok, is this true? And it'll just be like, no, this is
Yeah.
untrue because they know your profile and you're into this side of whatever. And, generally, if you're the type of person that's asking that, you, you have a certain
Yeah.
viewpoint without
Yeah,
without calling it out
exactly.
specifically, but it just reinforces that. And it's saying it so matter of fact, and it's saying it as though it could be true, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so confident in how it gives you this
Yeah.
information that like you're almost silly not to believe it, right? But it's the critical
And
thinking. It's that skill to
yeah.
be like, this can't be, I don't, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that like a lot of people who don't know much about computers or even like reinforcement learning or machine learning specifically is that they tend to have this false idea that because it's a computer, because it's a machine, it's somehow objective and
Hmm.
unbiased, which is the polar opposite of the truth, right? Like, um, like there's the principle of like garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yep.
When I was in undergrad, like the professor who taught us, who taught the artificial intelligence class that I was in, like one of the first things she said was just kind of like you have to be careful about like what data set you're feeding it. If you feed it biased data, you're going to get a biased model out of it, right? And like she actually does a lot about ethics in machine learning, so I can imagine how her life is going now. Uh,
Lots of work.
yep, yep. Um, but yeah, so like it was like really driven home for us that like what you sample is really important and everything else is based on that. And um, the computer can't check its own biases, right? Like it's almost worse than people because people can become aware of their own biases and then check themselves, whereas the computer won't. So you're getting and like if you're feeding it odds, obviously like everything on the internet that you can get your hands on, what you're getting is existing systemic biases that are now codified in your model that lay people are going to believe is objective. And so now you're going to get, the systemic biases against, people of color, against LGBTQ community, whatever, whatever. Now they are codified in a way that almost justifies any sort of like xenophobia or racism or homophobia that people are going to spout. So that's also quite dangerous.
And there's like a feedback loop, like you said, like people, it has these biases built in, and then people believe the AI, as a matter of fact. So then they repeat this, and it just like
Yeah.
it just keeps growing. And well, yeah, it was true. I saw it written. It said that this is, I think
Yeah.
about it. So I work in IT, but I work in IT in the medical field, for the hospitals, and you hear like the same thing with doctors, where it's like you go to a doctor and it's like, well, the doctor said this, and it's like, yes, like they they've studied it and they've have a lot of experience in this, but there's a reason why you're told to get a second opinion because they're built with their own expectations and bias and whatever, right? So
Yeah.
you always have to. That's why they say you get a second opinion. But with AI, it's like there is no second opinion. That is
Yeah.
the law, right?
Yeah.
And now the scary thing is even AI and that is getting pushed into the the hospitals and into the medical field. Again, it can do some amazing things with being able to break down data and all that kind of stuff. But we've had problems where it gets into the hands of folks and they just take it verbatim. And like you said, they
Yeah.
don't necessarily know what they're being fed. And because it has such an aim to please, these same doctors and nurses and whomever, not to say there's any malpractice or anything going on, of course, but if
Mhm.
you're going in a direction, the concern would be like if you believe something so matter of fact, it's just going to reaffirm that for you, right? It's not going to contradict you or steer you in another direction, especially if you're constantly like, it's very malleable. So it may contradict you the first time and be like, well, that's not what I meant. I meant this. And it'll be like, oh, good point. Right. And it'll start
Yeah.
steering in your direction. So it's like, it can get actually like physically harmful if we're not careful, right? Because
Yeah.
if it's the wrong people who don't understand what they're dealing with, it can, yeah, it can lead people even further astray. There's always the thing about the doctors way back when that they were passing sepsis around because they would do surgeries without washing their hands because they thought it was a waste of time, right?
Yep.
Until it was proven that no, you are killing people by putting your dirty hands inside
Yeah.
open wounds.
And they didn't want to believe it. There was resistance toward that first because of, it's the very human response of, well, if you're correct, then I've been murdering all of these people.
Yeah, right.
So like almost like as a self-defense mechanism mentally, I have to reject this premise, right? And that just goes to show more bias in people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And now it's like, but it's this reaffirmation that's so strong and so confident that they're gonna get that they you
Yeah.
wouldn't get before. Like you'd have to find a book that said like like, oh, see, this book agrees with me. It's like, yeah, but these dozen of books don't. And that
Yeah.
one's written by a quack, so like ignore it. Right? Where now it's like, oh no, like I can generate whatever evidence I need. We already had
Yeah.
that problem where people were doing that just with the internet. But now it's
Yeah.
like again, it's at your fingertips. You can you can create
Yeah.
whatever evidence you need for
Yeah.
whatever
It's,
viewpoint you have.
yeah, it's an existing problem made much, much worse.
That's yeah, and I think that's exactly it. It's like for all the good things that AI can do, which I struggle to think of too many, but sure. They're like okay, for one, like the transcription of this podcast, very handy for me
Yeah.
to do some editing after the fact, right? Like not worth all of the trouble it caused, but
Yeah.
it exists. It's a good thing. Um, but I could have lived without it too, if we're being entirely honest. But nonetheless, right? Like so for a little bit of good, we are going to suffer so hard for all the things we're going to lose. I think even the comparison with the smartphone is being super generous because I feel like we're able to do so much thanks to the smartphone that we couldn't before, just in terms of expediency and communication and like even video calls, things like that, right? Like these things don't happen without this rectangle in
Yeah.
our hands. I don't see the use case for AI that isn't more destructive than it is helpful.
Yeah, and part of the problem is that like it's a technology that isn't ready, right? Like if you in most other circumstances, if you're like we can do this, but the cost is burning down an entire rainforest, people will be like, okay, so that's cool. Keep working on that until you can find a way of not burning down a rainforest when you do it. Um, but with the current like proliferation, I guess, of like these AI tools, a lot of it is driven by venture capitalists that are like getting impatient and are like, I want my return on investment. So
Yeah.
like push this everywhere. Right. So the game is really like a very small handful of people's pocketbooks is where it is. Um, and it's a tool that just isn't ready, right? Like it could like there's potential there, but it needs so much more work. It needs so much more refinement to reduce all of these flaws or at least take them into account in a way that um in a way that like at least warns people about them, makes people aware of them, right? But then they're like, oh, if we tell people like put a little asterisk on it that's like XYZ except whatever whatever, they're like, oh, but then people won't use it and we want people to use it. And it's just like, the I guess the priorities aren't at where they should be in terms of the people who are pushing this the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where I came with the blockchain comparison earlier. Is
Yeah.
like you said, like it's really driven by a need to have the next big thing, right? Like everybody wants the next iPhone. And I think AI is close, but like you said, it's not ready. It's like an iPhone if it was in the form of the old like what do you call it? The old car phones that you'd have to carry the whole
Yeah.
bag with the battery. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like it kind of works. It does some cool like you can certainly make a call with this phone, but it's damn heavy. Um Like
Yeah.
that's what it feels like we're at now, but it's also like lighting things on fire while we do it. Both literally and figuratively speaking, which is the unfortunate part.
Yeah. It's like if Steve Jobs was like unveiled the iPhone and was like, also, there's a 1 in 10 chance that it explodes, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. And I think it's that. I think it's people don't see the tangible evidence of the damage it's causing if they're not
Hmm.
directly affected by it, right? They're like, oh, boo-hoo, so some writers aren't making as much money on Amazon. It's like, but it's not that. It's the effects like two or three down. Like, yeah, it sucks also to have to cut through the noise of all the AI garbage.
Mhm.
But but it's more so like we're just devaluing everything. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like if you want to complain that there's not enough good whatever out there. Like you hear it on the comic side all the time. Like, oh, comics suck nowadays, which is entirely wrong, but sure, right? Like if you want to have that argument that it's all bad, this doesn't make it better. This just
Yeah.
like it takes it all away from you because now there's no incentive for the next great whomever to spend their time doing this
Mhm.
because even if they came out with something great, somebody's gonna lift it and copy it and distribute it immediately, right? A slightly changed version via AI, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's like, what's the incentive to put your heart into something, right?
Yeah.
So it just even that, like, just speaking from our art side, how destructive it is, and it's like, to what end for us to be able to sum up some emails faster, like whoop de doo,
Yeah.
right? It's yeah, it's upsetting, but but at the same time, like I do feel like there's a sense of like people are very what's the word? Like they're very against it. They're very antagonistic. That's not the right word. But they're just very like they almost want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's dangerous in a different way because like you don't know what's going to hit you if you're not looking for it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should be writing your books with AI or anything like that, like by no means. But you should at least know what they are and what they can do so that you know what is coming and how to work around it.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to. Like, they're unfortunately not going anywhere. Even though with my blockchain point, I was hoping that, these guys run out of money and it starts to go away. But I don't think it's ever going to truly go away.
Yeah. It's a little bit Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Even if like these current companies that are pushing this the most, even if like they run out of VC funds and go bankrupt or something like that, the idea is out there now, right?
Exactly.
Someone somewhere else is going to find a way that makes it more cost effective or whatever.
Hmm.
It's going to be out there. Um, but yeah, to your point about how it making people like overreact, I guess, to like anything adjacent
Hmm.
to this sort of thing. Like, yeah, a lot of people tend to confuse it with more benign forms of technology as well, right? Like, I've had people say like spell check is AI assisted. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Spell check is a computer checking against a set list of words. Um, and like, things like dictation software, not AI. Dictation software, by and large, help people with mobility issues through writing. Um, and so it's quite dangerous to go down that route as well, because if you're blanket vilifying a large swath of unrelated technologies, really, first of all, you are vilifying a bunch of people that have nothing to do with this thing. But also you're taking tools, legitimate tools, away from people who need it, uh, directly or indirectly, right? If you're saying like, oh, this is like this, for example, this like book award or this anthology or whatever, we're not open to submissions who use AI assisted writing. Cool, makes sense, reasonable. But then if you extend that to be like, also you can't use spell check, okay, now you've eliminated all the dyslexic people.
Hmm.
You can't use dictation software. Okay, now you've eliminated anyone with like arthritis in their fingers or any other kind of mobility issues. And at some point it turns into ableism, right? Um, so or like if you're like, uh I don't want any kind of like digital involvement whatsoever. It's like, okay, well now you've also eliminated anyone who does like research on using the internet or using Google or whatever, right? So like you have to draw the line somewhere, and where people draw the line is going to be individual on in most cases, but like I do wish people would educate themselves a little bit more about what, what large language models actually are before they just go like, also all of these other things that aren't that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's to a certain point, like AI can only do so much in the sense of, like you said, like if people are like absolutely zero, then yeah, you've cut out a whole group of people who, benefit from it greatly. But at the same time, are you going to limit people who, let's say they use a I don't know if you're familiar with like Plotter, that
Yeah.
software, yeah. Like, and it gives you templates for your stories. It's like, well, it's not writing it for you, but it's giving you such a strong framework to build your story off of. And like, if you did that with it, if you told an AI, I want a story like a Lester Dent story, it would effectively take that template and and say, this is my story and here's all the pieces. It would take that template and give you an outline based on the same thing that the plotter would. So it's like, it's only going to do so much for you. But I do think that, yeah, you still should come up with the story. Like, don't be like, I need a 500 word story for this short story competition and they like thrillers. Go. Like, that's
Yeah.
not cool. Like, why are you here? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what the joy is in that, even. Like, let's say you win, and then what? Like, you didn't win, so, like, what are you happy about?
Yeah.
Right?
Ultimately, like the words still have to come from you.
Yeah, right?
Um, yeah, like it's like even if you go back, like are you gonna be like you can't use thesauruses, you can't use dictionaries? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
tools are tools. You
Exactly.
can't just blanket ban all tools. Um, that's just not like, are you gonna go back to banging rock together? Like what? Uh, but yeah, like it's just so like this backlash is also, I feel like, can be dangerous. Like this sort of like almost phobia of technology, is also a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, again, much more eloquently put than I did. But yes, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make, which is, yeah, like it's, we have tools that we allow, and these ones, because they're codified as AI, and like you said, in many cases, it's not actually AI. It's just the next generation of tools we've always had, right? That those are all being vilified as well, and it's just strange. Like, even to the point that tools that we've all long since accepted. I think Grammarly is a big one. And
Yeah.
everybody was using that just fine, and then AI became a thing, and they're like, "Oh, Grammarly's bad because it's AI." It's still this, like, yeah, sure, they've upgraded and whatever since, but it's still doing the same thing it did before, right? It's taking your diction and making sure the commas are in the right place, and it's not. I mean, you can rewrite line per line, but like, I don't think the folks that were using it prior to this whole scare are the ones that are going line by line and rewriting their entire book so it
Yeah.
sounds like someone else, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's still, I think it's still just so that it's legible, so that when you hand it to your human editor, they don't lose their minds.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like if you're using it for like to make sure you're using like commas and like colons correctly or whatever, it's like, okay, well, not everyone had access to the kind of formal education that taught you proper punctuation usage. And that's largely a factor of socioeconomic factors, right? So like just because someone was underprivileged early in life during elementary school, you're gonna like disallow them from this whole genre when the tool exists to fill that gap. No.
yeah, exactly, right? And again, it's from a misunderstanding of what the tool is, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the wrong, again, and there is a line somewhere in there for sure that it's like, well, you don't want it writing it whole cloth or rewriting your work so much that
Yeah.
you're losing the voice, which is, again, why are you doing it if you're letting it be written for you? But yeah, it's very interesting. It's happening. I don't know, Roberto, if you've come across it at all, but it's happening in the art world a lot as well, where people are really going after artists saying, "This is AI. This is AI." I don't think you personally have been across it because there's lots of evidence of your art with the podcast and etc. But I don't know if you've seen it in your group, in your circles, that people are, the internet's very quick to point.
I've seen things that made me think, okay, this is AI, but I haven't witnessed the like persecution of someone because using AI, but I'm sure there is, but I'm not following.
That's fair. Yeah, again, staying off socials is a healthy thing. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely that's the thing. It's happening not just with writing, like it's definitely
Yeah.
happening with the art side too, and um it's unfortunate for some because of the way that some of the AI models are written. They took from very particular styles. So like we all look at this art now, we're like that's AI, but there are
Yeah.
people that was their style, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the
Yeah.
AI is built off of, and now they're getting accused of AI when it's like
And
no, like
it's,
I created that style.
yeah. And it's ironically the more popular styles too, right? Like the more
Yes.
popular something is, the more likely it was to get scraped
Make a
by
new.
the training data.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like I think a lot of the fantasy style covers and that like that's like very much stolen AI drawings and like the certain styles. And yeah, it's like you said, like it's the more popular styles that have been taken. So if you have a very like you know, like painterly style, um
Yeah.
yeah, like it's how do you win there? Um, I think Roberto said is what you have to do now is you have to record the whole process as
Yeah.
proof, which is like such a burden. And for what? Right?
Yeah. It's a burden, not just in like, oh, I have this extra thing I have to do and, it taxes my GPU. Um,
Yes.
it's also a burden in terms of it like it feels like you're being watched and that's extremely uncomfortable for people, right? So like you're making it basically impossible for certain people to draw at all because if they there's people who they feel anxious when they're being watched and they're not going to be able to do the thing that they need to do. So it's also it's also a problem like that. Like it's not just a matter of, oh, it's so annoying I have to tap a record button. Like some people fully are prevented from creating or sharing their art now.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that. I believe that for sure. It's like yeah, like you have a whole system you set up. You have a way that you're comfortable and a way that you do things, and now you're being challenged to, you know,
Yeah.
rethink the way you've done everything, right? So that you can prove to the masses that you're not lying.
Yeah.
Which is very I don't know. It's dystopian in a way. That
It
it's like
is.
let us watch you so that I know you're not lying. Like, well,
Yeah, exactly. But also even that isn't going to last because now the AI video stuff is getting better and better.
it's so
So
true. You have to be in the room.
yeah, you can't arms race against the computer, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. That's very well put. Yeah, exactly. The processing power is just unmatched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. It's a scary world. But again, it's not scary. It's just like it's disappointing, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
that's what
good
it
word.
is. For all the good that it can do, it's just deciding to do the opposite for no good reason,
Yeah, it's like
right?
we have all of this technology, the ability to do all of these things, and instead, well, we have this.
Yeah, right? We chose the
Yeah.
worst path. Ugh,
Yeah.
very upsetting. Aside from AI, uh the whole publishing market's been interesting. I see so like all your books, I think you've gone wide on all of them. Am I wrong? Or
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And how are you finding that? Were you ever like Amazon exclusive at any point? Or do you
I
go wide
tried
right
it.
away?
I tried it out at first with my first couple of books. I can't remember if it was first two or three books. And so Amazon wide, because of their payment structure, works really well for pulpy genre fiction, but also books that are long or books that are in long series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you invite people in and then they keep reading. You get paid based on the number of pages that people read. Um, and so if you have a page turner where someone can read through it very quickly, if it's a long book, if you have five books in a series that they can just binge, it's great. It works great for that. If you write fan poems or shorter fiction like me, a person reading through one book once is less than you would get if they just straight up bought your book.
That's
So
fair.
yeah. So it ends up being not a lot of benefit to being in Kindle Unlimited, compared to the ability to also have your books on Kobo, Google Play, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you do the one thing I was told. So at the Toronto Indie Authors Conference last year, I had some time. We were doing. I don't know. Have you been to that or no? Uh,
I was at this year. Yeah.
this year's, yeah. And there's the roundtable section.
Yeah.
And then that whole thing is I was sitting with Tao Wong, and he basically gave me crap for a whole session because I was the only one sitting there, and basically told me like pick a genre and stick to it, and then put that on Amazon, right? Like don't jump. So you're pretty good in the sense of that. Like you're in the one genre, you have like you have a very clearly established name in this genre, but you've done all standalones. Is there a reason for that? Is that just what you prefer,
It's
or?
just what I prefer. Yeah, it's like it's not even like I don't have anything against like writing a series or anything. It just hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tend to be one of like so you said that you outline a lot. I
Yes.
write an outline and then discard it right away. Um, so outlines are a lovely idea
Fair enough.
that I then ignore for the rest of the process. So I tend to be very I let the story decide
Mm-hmm.
how long it wants to be. And so, some stories are longer, some stories are shorter. It's just that lately, I've been writing more short things. And, like someday in the distant future, maybe there will be a long series. But the other part of that is also because I tend to like want to try new things. Like the novelty of it is
Mm-hmm.
part of the drive for me. So if I'm like done a book, I'm like, I never want to write in that universe again. New thing now. And eventually maybe someday I'll want to go back to it, but so far it hasn't happened. Um, so between those two factors, I think is what led me to write more standalones than anything else. So it wasn't like based on like marketing or like artistic vision or anything like that. It's sort of just a product of how I write. And ultimately, when you write like different people write for different reasons. And for me, I write for the stories themselves. So that's like, I'm never going to compromise the story because of external factors. So if the story wants to be a standalone book, the story gets to be a standalone book, and I have to figure out how to market it after.
I appreciate that. That's like a very genuine way of approaching it, instead of like a mechanical, like this has to be a trilogy because the market dictates, and it
Yeah.
must be 80,000 words so that it falls right in the sweet spot of the word count for my genre. Like I appreciate the way that you're kind of just like, this is the story, this is the way I'm gonna write it, and how it belongs, you know, how it belongs in the world. It's just this is the way the story was meant to be. So I respect that a lot, and yeah, it kind of makes sense why why um your catalog is the way it is in the sense of like, yeah, that you're like I've told the story. It was as long as it needed to be, and then we went to the next one. So I find
Yeah.
that interesting. Yeah, it's I guess it's the difference of what is it, writing to market, or marketing your writing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's good. I feel like that's freeing in a way too. That you're just like, look, this is the story I want to tell, and again, going back to the whole, I think we've talked AI to death, but but if we're talking about that, like that's going to be the difference is the ability to point to something, be like, I told this story because it's a story only I could tell, right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a story that hits these beats at this time because that's the most marketable way of doing it. Like that's something that is gonna, I think, be less and less popular because it's gonna be so superfluous. Did I say that right? But it's gonna be everywhere,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, in your way of doing it, I think it's because it's a lot more genuine and authentic. I think in the long run, you're in a better spot. But yeah, for like Amazon in particular, specifically for like Kindle Unlimited, is a little bit more of a
Yeah.
challenge. But yeah, no, I think you're doing the right thing. Like it sounds like a good strategy. I envy you pantsers though. I am lost in the woods if I don't have a very robust outline.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like then you go back and then you're just kind of like, I don't know what the scene is doing here.
yeah, yeah, that's my fear, right? So I don't even start. I get like paralyzed if I don't have a map. Like I don't know where to go. Like I don't even know what direction to start walking in. So I spend most of my time outlining, So once I'm in the writing phase, like I'm knocking pages out, but it's because I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours like mulling over this outline and being very detailed in where everything goes and what's going to happen. Um, that by the time it's time to write the pages, like I already know like where everything's headed, right? So that's the easy part. Um, so I feel like it's the same thing. It's just it's almost like Roberto's drawing here, right? It's like some folks might do a panel and detail all of it and then jump to the next one, or you lay the whole thing out so you get a picture of what the story is and how the flow goes, and then you kind of, then you start to do the details.
Yeah.
And people do it both ways. Roberto's looking for the mute. He's got a comment on that. Um, but yeah, there's definitely. Oh, lost your screen.
I had to stop sharing to unmute myself.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't recommend at all to be a pantser when you're drawing a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you do that, you're setting yourself up to have to go back again
Yeah.
and destroy your hard work, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the secret of the pantsers is the willingness to kill your darlings, right? Like you can write
Well,
half a book and be like, nope.
so here's my one weird trick that they don't want you to know about. For my fellow pantsers. If you really like a scene and then you're like, oh, I don't want to kill it, just copy paste it to another document. It's still there. It's still alive. If you change your mind, you can always paste it back in, but now it's gone. It's out of your manuscript.
Yeah, it's nothing's wasted, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the idea that
Yeah. And it feels a lot nicer to just like, I'm just moving it.
yeah, right? I'm saving it for later. It's
Yeah.
not gone. Yeah, that's fair. That's like a good trick for yourself so that you're not feeling like you're wasting reps. Um, I like it. I just yeah, again, it's not so much that worries me because even in an outline, like I think my story changes like 7, 8 times before I'm
Mhm.
locked in. Characters come and go and they change roles and all that. So that's normal. But it's just knowing what's next. I feel like that's my if I don't know what's next, I don't know where to start, right?
Yeah.
So, but again, that's why I envy you guys because you can like sit down and be like, I don't know what's next. We're gonna find out together, right?
Well, like, so generally I do have an idea of like
Hmm.
the overarching, but it's very, very high level, right? It's like not even worth writing down because it's like 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Not even worth writing down because it's outlining. And like, this is just one of those things that's like different people. The problem I have is that when I try to outline, I can have this like beautiful plan. And then when I actually start writing and the characters start like doing their thing, I'm like, oh no, your personality is like this actually. Oh, you want to do this first. Like different people just have like such different approaches to like writing in general, but also like how the story or the characters behave like in their heads, like their relationship to them and like how much agency they have versus like how much control you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like different for everyone, like where that, like how it feels and like where that agency feels like it resides.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some people who the way they describe it, it's almost like they're doing a puppet show, right? Where like the characters are the puppets and then like they have the set dressing or whatever. And you're in control of everything. And then for me, it's much more like setting up a wind-up toy. And then you can wind it up, you set it in a starting position, you think it's gonna go in a direction, and then it's like, oh, there's like a weird kink in the mechanism or whatever, and now it's gonna like turn. So it's just really different how different people not just approach it, because like if you say how they approach their writing, it sounds more like a deliberate choice that you're making, but it's more like how their brain interprets these things that are happening with their character, right? Like, am I deciding the characters are doing this or are the characters deciding they're going to do this, you know?
Yeah, I always find it's one of those things that, like the more you, especially if you do it where every day you're like going, and it's like, okay, today I'm knocking out a page, and it's like you're spending
Yeah.
so much time with these characters
Yeah.
that yeah, they pull right, and it's
Yeah.
it's always hard to describe, right? Um, And it's always hard to describe. That's like you have a good compass if you're able to do that, right? And just feel like go through it and be like, I don't know what it is, but this isn't working. You know, that's good. That's like a sign of someone who knows their voice very well. Um, but yeah, it's so I've done both ways. I've tried the character version, and I've tried just doing a full pass. I find it depends. Like if I'm having a hard time with a certain character, then I'll do like a pass just with them, right? And then I find it gets fleshed out a little better. But for the most part, I usually do it the same way, where it's just like I'm just going beginning to end, making sure it's coherent, and then giving it to an editor and letting them tell me where I'm wrong all over the place. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, whoops, I didn't realize. Yeah, a lot of humility in writing. That's I think um, the humility in writing that I'm willing to learn. We always talk about it on here. I'm always trying to learn to draw, and I'm very bad at it. And part of it is because I'm not willing to fail in drawing. Like I do it, I'm bad at it, I get frustrated, and I don't do it again for a little while. And where writing, I don't know. I just feel like okay, like I'll get better. Like I feel like there's a road to to where I will get better. Where with art, I just feel like um, I don't know. I just don't have that same drive to be allowed to be bad at it over and over, right? To allow myself the freedom to just like know that it's going to be bad, right? It's tough, but you do that every time you write. That's the thing, right? Like it's never good. Like when you start, it's never. I don't think I've ever written anything that the first pass was like done, right? At least not when I go back to read it. Maybe at the end of the session, I'm like, man, that's gonna be a good one. And then I go back 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is trash.
Yeah.
Who was
Yeah.
that guy that thought this was good?
Yeah. There was I saw like a meme that someone posted or something that was like writers have two modes, and one of them is like I am God's gift to literature, and then the other mode is I'm a talentless hack.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it, right? And it's like you you're constantly flip-flopping. Um
Mhm.
and it's just funny because like you can do it with the same piece at different
Yeah.
times. There are times where I'll read something that I've written and I'm like, man, this was good. Like I was
Yeah.
I was on that day. And then I go
Mhm.
back to it like months later and I'm like, wow, this is not nearly as good as I remember.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just yeah, it's being okay with that. Being okay with the fact that you're always improving and trying to figure out what you're when you find you don't like it, it's finding out why you don't like it, I think is
Yeah.
what helps you improve, right?
Yeah. And a lot of that is just reading, right? It's just like you
Yes.
read a lot and then you develop a more like a greater ability to resolve those sorts of issues of like awkward phrasing or like bad pacing or whatever. Just because you've seen it done right so many times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I find the weirdest trend I've been seeing is people who want to write but don't read.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
right? I want to build a
And like
house, but I've never been in one. Like
yeah,
that's
and like a
weird.
lot of those people are just like they what they really want to do is they want to tell a story.
Hmm.
And writing happens to be the one with the lowest barrier to entry, right? And so they're like writing, but it's like writing is its own medium. It has its own like thing going on. So if you want to tell a story, like cool, great, but maybe writing's not the medium for you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
is what it is.
Right? There's like there's rules to it, like anything,
Mhm.
right? Um, Again, I always compare it to art just because, the art. I'm always watching
Yeah,
Roberto draw, but right. But with art, it's like the rules are apparent. Like if the anatomy is off, you know it
yeah,
immediately. Like you look at it and it's like that guy's arm is too long for his body or something.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like
Or
even
like
if you
even if you can't pinpoint it, you're just kind of like, there's something weird about that. Something weird's going
exactly
on there.
right,
Yeah,
like you can sense that it's just not accurate.
yeah,
Where with writing, it's like sometimes it's invisible to you, which is the
yeah,
first problem, right? It's like this is great. It's like that's because you're not well read, then
yeah,
right? And it's like you don't even appreciate how like uh, not that there's like the you don't want to make it so that it's like oh you have to have like an MFA kind of thing, right? Like it's not. I'm not saying that. It's more so just like again, the more you read, especially if you read in your genre, it's like understanding what you're doing, and
Mm.
it's almost like I'm really searching for this point here. But you know, when you're in high school and somebody makes a joke and they think they invented the joke, but the joke has
Yeah.
been around forever. It's that.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
sense of like when you write something and you think you're doing something that's never been done before, or you're so novel and different and interesting, and it's like, no, like this is a regular trope that's been done 1,000 times and done better than you've done it,
Yeah.
because those people are aware that they're doing it and you're not, right?
Yeah.
So it's that. It's like the reason you read is not because everybody's putting a barrier up. It's so that you can recognize, what works and what doesn't, and what's been done and what hasn't, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's just going to help you communicate better, because that's all it really is the ability to communicate. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very important that you read. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy to say that if you want
Yeah.
to write, you should read,
Yeah.
but
It turns out being familiar with your medium helps you create in that medium. Who knew?
yes, exactly, right? Like it's so crazy, but it's true. Yeah. So with it, we get that a lot in comics actually, that we always get people who've written a screenplay. Movies are hard to make, are
Yeah.
expensive to make, so they're like, I'm just gonna make it a comic. It's like that's great. However, movies and comics are different mediums. So what
Yeah.
works in a film does not work in a comic, and not just pacing, but like everything, right? So you usually get them, and they're like, a guy walks into the room, throws his keys on the table, and sits down. It's like, well, that's 2 pages,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you've just described 2 pages of action, and nothing has happened. So like that's the most simple example, but like even just in terms of like all of it, it's like you have to respect the medium you're in. You can't just say, you know, uh, I wrote a screenplay, therefore this can be a comic or a novel. It's like you wouldn't,
Yeah.
like they're totally different medium with different expectation and different skill sets even, right? Like a writer isn't just a writer. Writer of what, right? Nonfiction writers can't necessarily do fiction and vice versa and all that, right? Like there are different skill sets for everything, and there needs to be more respect for that, I feel like. But again, a lot of people don't read; they just want to be
Yeah.
read,
Yeah.
right?
They want to be heard,
Yes.
but they don't want to listen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which I guess is social media to a T, but it's not so much social, just the media part. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just such a strange trend to me. And again, it's like there are easier ways to make money. Like if your goal
Yeah.
is to make money, I think it's what you said. It's to be heard. It's like the cachet that sells with it, along with the potential money. But you,
Yeah. Maybe not that one specifically. Yeah.
the end result, then like maybe this isn't for you, because really the end
Yeah.
result is sometimes the least rewarding of all of it, right?